Okay, everybody, so we have a special guest here today. We have Miss Jennifer Walker. She works with me here at Senior Life Services, SLS, and she has been here a lot longer than me. She's a veteran here, and so she's going to share some of her experience, strength, and hope with you guys so that people watching this can learn what it takes to be a successful career insurance agent. And Jennifer's an amazing person inside and out, so it's been a pleasure working with you, Jennifer. Now, first we'll get right into it here. Well, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit?
Okay, well, my name is Jennifer Walker. I'm originally from San Francisco, California. Go West Coast. I actually went to school in Atlanta. I graduated from Clark Atlanta University. From Clark Atlanta University, I ended up moving to LA, and I worked in the entertainment industry for a while. And then after I got fired from my job, I said that was it. I said that's the last time I have somebody control my income. And I ended up working in real estate. So I did real estate for a while, and then in 2007, 2008, when the market crashed, is when I got introduced to the insurance business. So I've been here. I've been in the industry for about 13 years, and I've been with SLS for 12 of those years. So.
Awesome. Cool. Where were you before?
I was with actually Henry Stewart. He had his insurance company, and I was working with them for a while, and everything was great. We were selling insurance over the phone, and then the FCC stepped in and they stopped the robotic calls, the way that we were making calls, and so it just really impeded the way that we did business. And so actually I was going to be out of the insurance business after that, and then I got introduced to SLS.
Okay, awesome, cool. So how did you meet Henry? So guys, Henry's our president of sales, so he's been with the agency I guess just as long as Jennifer's been here. I didn't know that. How did you get into selling insurance in the first place with Henry?
Well, actually, we had a mutual friend who had introduced me. He said, hey, I want you to meet these guys. They have this company. I was in real estate at the time, and they had this product that would help accelerate people's mortgages. So I felt that that would be a good thing to help my clients with after I helped them sell a home. Well, as we were conversing, he was like, have you ever thought about getting into the insurance business? And to be honest with you, I've never thought about the insurance business. I never knew anyone who was in it, who was successful. And, you know, I was like, it wasn't glamorous enough for me. I mean, I was selling homes to celebrities, and, you know, it was great, you know, doing $1 million homes. But when he said, you know what, that market may end up crashing, you may want to get something as a backup. And so I thought about it, and I was like, okay, well, I guess it wouldn't hurt to get my insurance license. So I got my license and introduced a few of my other friends to the business. But boom, right when he said it, literally in 07, into 07, 08 is when the market crashed. And when I tell you, Justin, thank God I listened to him, because I was able to transition pretty seamlessly.
Cool. That's awesome. That's like perfect timing.
I mean,
right?
It was perfect timing, because here's the thing. I live in a subdivision of 19 homes, and 2 of the people in my subdivision both foreclosed their homes because they stayed on that sinking Titanic way too long. So I was so happy I was able to jump off of it and still maintain, you know, my lifestyle.
That's huge. And I think it's pretty clear that right now, I don't know real estate. I'm just starting to get into look and read books on it and analyze deals and stuff to learn like what's good, what isn't good in terms of rental properties and stuff like that. But like, it's pretty clear that based on the track of when I'm seeing in the sale history, like it's pretty clear that there may be some sort of a bubble that has room for correction. So I feel like it may not be like it was in 07, 08, but I feel like there may be some other people who are in real estate who may transition to insurance as well.
Absolutely. You won't believe how many real estate agents contacted me because they had lost their homes. They really hit rock bottom, because, we were selling hand over fist properties. You know, I was doing exceptionally well, and many of the people that I worked with in the entertainment industry, I was helping them buy second homes in Atlanta. I was renting them out for them. Like, it was booming. But literally, when that crash happened, it was very, very detrimental to a lot of people.
Yeah, and you know, the thing too is sometimes behind every closed door, I'm stealing this line from Think and Grow Rich, behind every closed door is a seed of equal or greater opportunity. So sometimes, when any of you guys watching this, if you ever have something happen that in your life or your career that you think is like a doomsday situation, a lot of times there's an opportunity there waiting for you that you can take advantage of and pounce on, and clearly Jennifer, she did that here. So that's how you ended up at SLS. What was the hardest thing about transitioning from real estate to selling insurance?
Well, you know what? That's a good question, because I was dealing more in the high end. And so really my first introduction into insurance was doing Medicare Advantage. So literally,
Okay.
if you know that type of clientele, it's maybe low to middle income. And so that was just a challenge to go into people's homes. But because, I'm from the hood. I didn't live in the hood, but I'm from the hood. So I know how to relate at all levels. So when I got into those folks' homes, I just need to roll up my sleeve. I connected with them, and I was able to do very well in Medicare Advantage. But when CMS had changed their guidelines and they made it very strict for us to get in contact with clients, that's how I ended up transitioning and working with Henry,
Gotcha.
Selling insurance over the phone. So that was great. I was licensed in 48 states, and I was selling 10 to 15,000 of insurance every single week, and that was back in
That's awesome.
like '09. But like I said, when the FCC
Cool.
stepped in and stopped the robotic calls, it kind of killed our
Yeah.
business. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I imagine too, like with sales cycle length, it was maybe a little different from real estate to insurance, because insurance we're like in and out, we go for that close, and I'm sure real estate you go for a quick close, but there's the closing, there's the approvals, there's the whole, it's a long process. So
Yeah. So one thing that I
Yes.
liked about real estate, of course, is that you get a larger lump sum check. But the problem with that is that you're unemployed until your next sale. Now, with insurance, it's great. It allows you to build up residual income, which is one of the things that I've been chasing a lot in my lifetime, where I was selling travel and I was selling water filters, like just trying to build up residual income, not knowing that insurance is really the mecca of residual income. So
Yeah, it is.
so I really do love that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And what's something that you picked up from real estate? So a lot of people watching this are going to be just insurance. They may have never sold real estate before.
Right.
So what's something that you picked up from real estate that maybe you applied to your insurance sales? Was there anything that you can
that
think
is
of?
a great question, Justin. Let me tell you something. So when I first got into real estate, every other person in Atlanta was a real estate agent, right? So I had to find something that separated me from the pack. So I went and got a certification that was called a new home specialist. So I knew the ins and outs of new homes. I had relationships with the builders. So I knew everything about new homes. Don't ask me about short sales. Don't ask me about foreclosures.
Okay.
I knew everything about new homes. So now the way that it works in the insurance business is that a lot of times you have agents that try to be the jack of all trades and they can't master anything. So they want to sell health insurance, long-term care, Medicare Advantage, Medicare supplements. And what I realize is that you need to be a specialist in something. So what I am, Justin, is a specialist in final expense. That's what I am. And so when you think about it, being a specialist in the insurance business is just like being a specialist in the medical field. The specialists make more than the general practitioners. And unfortunately, most times many agents are trying to be general practitioners and they can't make the money. So you need to specialize in something. And that's what I learned.
Yeah, I agree with that so much. And I see so many people run into that. I was in that trap when I started. And it's funny because I learned about that through insurance. My friend's dad, I remember growing up, and one of my friends I grew up with, he always had like new stuff. His family was super successful. He was like one of the richest kids in my school. And I was like, what's your dad do? He's like, I don't know, something with insurance. And I was like, oh, that sounds kind of boring, but whatever. He's doing he's doing
It's
pretty.
not sexy.
No, no, it's not.
Yeah.
So when I got into insurance though, I'm like, you know what? Let me reach out to him. So I was like, yo, can I get your dad's phone number? He's like, yeah, give him a call. He's probably busy though. And I'm like, all right. So I called him and I'm like, hey, I'm getting into insurance. I want to sell. I'm going to get my property and casualty. I have my life and health doing this. And he was like, stop. He's like, I sell commercial liability insurance to construction companies with premiums of a minimum $100,000 in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Maine. He's like, that's all I do. That's all I do. So he's like, pick your one thing and get really good at it, because you want to be the specialist in that, because everyone's going to go to the specialist. So if you guys are watching this, and if any of my friends watching this and you're like, why don't you sell Medicare? Well, it's because, dude, it's just do one thing. I just want to do one thing. And some people do okay with that, but I agree with that.
Multitasker. Like, I just believe once I have my mind on something, I'm going to do well in it. I'm going to excel. I want to be the best in that. So that's just
I agree.
opinion. Yeah.
I agree for sure. So what would you? So that's advice you'd give to new agents starting out, guys. You're going to have people calling you from every IMO in the world, asking you to join them. What else? What other advice would you give to new agents just starting out in the business?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing about it is, if you have not worked for yourself, it's really hard. It is. Trying to have that focus and that dedication. It's a tough thing. So you do have to have a bulletproof mind. You have to have people that support you as well in your vision, because when you're dealing with people that mostly are in job world, they feel like, okay, wait a minute, you worked all day and you didn't make a check. Like they can't fathom that in their head. But you just have to keep your eye on the prize. And if it's what you really want, you will get it, but you got to put the work in. So I will tell a new agent, it is not easy, but it gets easier the more that you do it. But you have to be in the stage of being able to learn and allow yourself to get through your learning curve. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It is a true six-figure opportunity that can really change your life, but you have to be willing to put in the work. So unfortunately, sometimes these millennials, Justin, you know how they are. They ready to get that money fast, but you got to slow down and really learn the business in order to sustain success.
Yeah, for sure. So, guys, what she's saying there really is be patient and put in the work every day. And I was actually, so Jennifer has a team here, an agency within Senior Life Services Agency, essentially, where she helps agents get going in the industry. And we were talking about, we're both into fitness, and she was saying, like, we were talking about, it's like going to the gym. Like, if you went to the gym for a week and you're like, I'm not seeing the results that I want, you're not just going to stop going. Like, it's like, you got to give it time. Give yourself 60 days of like actual work, 90 days of like hard work before you're going to see that result turn around. By the way, guys, if you like the content in this video, please subscribe to my channel, click on the bell, turn on post notifications, and you're also going to see, if you look up right here, you're going to see some information for a video that you can watch after this one on another agent who works here who's had a lot of success working with us too. So I want to get to I guess what had people click on this. It was either the 24,000 or your pretty face. I don't know which one it was, but
maybe both. Thank you.
So how did you get to that? How did you get to selling 24,000 in a week? That's a lot. I mean, most agents who start never even sell a single policy.
I know. And to sell 24,000 in a week, and guess what, Justin? I didn't start until Tuesday. So it wasn't even that Monday. But I will tell you something. I made it up in my mind first. That's what it was. Because I remember calling Henry Stewart, and it was a contest that was going on. So the contest was a trip for you and a guest to Fort Lauderdale, stay in the W Hotel, and a shopping spree. And the two things that Jennifer Walker loved the most is shopping. So when they said that there was a contest, it was a 2-week contest. In the first week, Justin, I wasn't in a contest. But I made up in my mind on Monday night, and I told Mr. Stewart, I said, you know what? I think I'm going to go for this contest. And he was like, okay. He wasn't negative. He was like, but do you know how much you need to sell in order to win? I said, well, yes, I do, but I'm going to go for it anyway. And so I started out on Monday. I made sure that I had at least 10 appointments a day. So I triple booked, because I wanted to make sure that I was in a position to see as many people as possible. When I went to go see clients and I was able to sell them, I asked for referrals. So the beneficiaries that they gave me, I'm now calling them, seeing if I can set an appointment within that week. So I was running from 9 a.m. to like 10, 11 o'clock at night, up until my last app that I wrote that week was about 11:58. The contest was over at midnight.
Wow.
But I was trying to fax my applications, get everything in, but I ran hard. But I made it up in my mind first. So all I would tell a person is, when it comes to this business, you have to write down your goals. You have to say it out loud, which is what I did. Now, but I also put the action behind it to make it happen. Yeah. And that's it. So I was able to hit it.
So you got committed. It all starts with a goal, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
right? A goal, what is it? I read, a goal is a dream with a deadline. So she's like, I'm getting that trip, and I got to get it in this amount of time. And by the way, that brings up something cool here that I think is really good to touch on, because you started out in the field. So Jennifer started out in the field, and half of our agency, well, more than half our agency for the longest time, was face-to-face. The owner of Senior Life Services, the IMO, Rory Doherty, he started 40-something years ago selling face-to-face. Obviously, they didn't have telesales. So telesales is kind of like, telesales was kind of like, I know you guys watch this because my content on final expense telesales, but I sold face-to-face first. I sold face-to-face for a few months until I was just sick of driving around. A lot of people sold for sold for a while face-to-face. So what advice do you give to people who are, because most insurance agents are face-to-face. I don't really recommend anyone independent buying their own leads to start telesales if you've never been in sales, because you're going to get smacked around and you're going to lose a lot of money. So what would you recommend people do who are going from face-to-face to phone sales?
Well,
like any advice to them?
like you just said, you need to partner with an agency to do that. I would say in order to have the greatest success, because if you don't have that kind of self-discipline at the house in order to sit your butt in the seat and make those dials, and of course have the money to generate enough leads to work all day, then it will be kind of difficult for you. And you think about the times that we're in right now, though. With gas costing $4 or $5 a gallon, in some places even more, driving around, seems like the money that you'll make, you got to put it in your gas tank. So you got to be careful with that. You know Seriously. What I mean? So telesales is a wonderful thing. Like I said, I started off in telesales. So when the pandemic happened in 2020, we were able to seamlessly kind of transition to, helping our agents get on the phone and have the greatest success. And honestly, 2020 was our biggest year for my team. And we were able to transition. So I would say you want to partner with a company that can help you generate the amount of leads that you need to have success.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And like if you're a field agent and you hate dial day, telesales probably isn't for you. Well, honestly, I don't know anybody who likes dial day, right? Like I don't know anybody who's like, I love making phone calls, but I think what happens is like it's a trade-off. And what she's saying is so true, because there are a lot of people are at IMOs or working with agencies or uplines right now who are running face-to-face, working direct mail leads. So like if someone has only worked direct mail leads face-to-face, they've never gotten into telesales, you may want to explore some options there of what's available. Jennifer hires people all over the country. I hire people in Florida. So if anybody is like, hey, I'm interested in seeing what you guys have, by all means reach out and we can show you what that is. I'm going to have a way to contact Jennifer in the description of the video as well, so you guys can reach out to her. But it's huge. You got to be with people who know what they're doing, right? Like, you're just going to fast track yourself.
Not every company is going to teach you, what we teach you. We can take somebody who doesn't have any sales experience at all. But what you do have to have is personality, and you have to have drive.
Yeah.
So different when you're in front of somebody where, a person, you can talk to them, maybe they can connect with you. Of course, they're going to check you out and decide whether or not they want to do business with you. But when you're on the phone, they have to hear your personality resonate through the phone. If you don't have any personality, you are not good for telesales.
No, not at all. I agree.
Leave it alone. Leave it alone. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. So, now, so if someone here wants it at 24,000, just because it's an order of some topics I want to talk with her, she's like, you got to get set the week ahead, and then also obviously you got to have enough leads. So some of you guys reach out to me and you're like, how do I sell all this insurance? Well, you're going to have a lot of leads too. So
which is money, and if now, you don't have the money in order to call those leads, that's why you have to partner with a company that will give you those leads. Yeah,
it'll help you out for sure. So now, and now you're building a team. So at what point, when did you transition to that? Because I think when I joined, I think you were doing that already, and you had a team. And 2020 was so weird. I joined in December of 2019, and then we had the convention or the conference in Orlando, and then it was like everything changed. So at what point were you like, hey, I want to start building a team, and how did that happen? How did that thing go? How
Well,
did that go?
that's a great question. So I actually got into team building pretty early on in my career, like within 6 months of joining the company. We were growing
Oh,
very
nice.
fast. Henry Stewart was an amazing trainer, and he was hiring a bunch of people, so I was kind of forced in it a little bit. But what I will tell you that I'm so happy that I was, because I just remember having this conversation with one of the top agents at SLS at the time. I pulled him in the corner and I said, I need to understand, because he was like the top person, but he didn't have a team. He was making a lot of money getting residual. But when he was telling me his story, I said, I love it. However, I want to accelerate my income a lot faster. And so the way that you leverage it is by having a team. So even though at that time I was still producing and running a team as well, I knew that I wanted to do it very early on. Yeah. So I needed that money quick.
Okay.
Get that residual income. I got that leg going with my team, and then of course personal sales. But one thing that I do like about SLS, and we have to talk about this, Justin, is that it's building a team is great, and you have some insurance companies where that's the main thing that they focus on is building a team. And hey, if that works for them, that's great. But you have people that want to have a true career in the insurance business. And so that's what I love about SLS is that we're going to teach you how to have a career, but also if you want to introduce some very sharp, talented people to the company as well, that's another way that you can generate your income. But you can literally have a six-figure income right on your own pen. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, we see agents do it all the time,
Yes.
even new agents. So how do you handle, so like with your team, how do you like to handle, like take us through a day with Jennifer's team? What's it look like for you and for the people on your team? This is to give insight too, guys, of what it's like to kind of be someone like
so
her.
I mean, our morning starts off every morning with a breakfast call. We think it's important that you touch your agents every single day, hear what issues that they may have encountered the day before. Let's discuss it. Let's try to give them some tips and tools so they can have a better day. So it starts off with the hour breakfast call. After that, the president of sales, he has a sales call that he does specifically for new agents, which is also some additional training. And then as my agents start to get on the phone and make their calls, we also do what is called a midday check-in. So those are for that midday call is for new agents that may need, maybe they're having some challenges on the first half of their day and they're trying to figure out how do I continue to push forward. So now we're touching them again and we're trying to figure out, okay, what happened in the first half of your day? So now we can help you have more success on the second half of your day. And then, that's pretty much, and our agents, they may work, up until 9 o'clock or even midnight, depending on, if they have a license on the West Coast. But our agents are truly dedicated. So we're not looking for people that's trying to do this part-time. I mean, this is truly a full-time opportunity. And that if that's what they're looking for, then we're the company for it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And there's not many people who do that in the business. Like I know when I started, the guy I started with, he's a good guy. He has a lot of people, and also in most models, like it's a different type of investment because it's like I'm just gonna like the there's not as much of an investment and incentive to put that time into people to help them develop. But it goes back to what she said, guys. You have to have the right drive, and you have to have the right attitude. So if you feel like you may not have the drive to do it, then I'll tell you, I was there at one point. I at one point in my life, I didn't have drive, and I got really focused on my goals. And then also, I didn't always have the best attitude, and I had to remove some of the bad information I had in my head and put good information into it. And you guys can do that. You have to be selective with who you let in your life. If you have people in your life who have a bad attitude, it's like, imagine they bring over emotional trash. So imagine if you had a friend call you, hey, bro, can I come over and bring some bags of trash to your house and just leave them there? You'd be like, no. So you got to make sure that you're keeping the good things in your life. So if you feel like, hey, maybe I don't have the right attitude and maybe I'm not driven, just reach out to me. Email me, jve@thejve.com. I'll give you some resources that I use to stay motivated and excited, because if I'm not focused on good stuff, I end up focusing on bad stuff, and I want to be focused on the good stuff there. So Jennifer, that brings me, I guess, I want to ask you here, what are some goals that you have for yourself over the next 5 or 10 years? Like, what are you looking for to accomplish for you? Where would your dream be? What's your ultimate ideal scene?
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, I want to get my team up until, like, I would say within the next 12 months or so, I want to get up to 100, 150 agents, like to be right up under my team.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I have some leaders, some coaches that are helping me accomplish that goal. So that would be a goal that I can see within the next, like I said, 12, maybe 24 months. But after that, as far as personal goals are concerned, you know, I know you said that you tapped a little bit into real estate as well. And so I do want to start purchasing more property and setting up my portfolio as far as having investment properties and things of that nature. But this business is going to allow me to do that. And that's what I love about it. I've seen people to come to SLS and they have retired, but they use the money that they earned from SLS in order to fund their dreams. So insurance business does not necessarily have to be your dream job. I don't know about you, Justin, but when I was growing up, I did not say, when I grow up, I want to be an insurance agent. Never once. I don't think anybody that's listening ever thought that, but it is a means to fund your dreams. So it allows you to do more. So I can see myself investing more. I can see myself continuously growing with the company, but you know, it's not something that I want to do for the rest of my life. And as long as you put your foot on the gas very early on in your career, then you can retire very wealthy. I want to have a house on
you can. And
yeah.
For sure. Yeah, so there's like one of her ideal places to be. Now, guys, what you can do too in insurance, a great thing, I'm sure you guys know this, but if you get your renewals, look at that as like extra money. Throw it in a savings account and then buy something that'll help you bring money back. I'm reading on this website, biggerpockets.com, and the books they have, James Whitley, he was telling me, he's like, I'm obsessed with those guys, like all their forums and everything. It's really cool. They got some good books and some really cool calculators for figuring out if a deal's good, which I'm sure you know because you've been in real estate. But you guys can do really like whatever you want with this career and take it really any direction. So I know you like traveling. How do you travel and still make sure that you're there? Because I do it too, but I want to see, hey, like, what do you have set up so that you can travel and do that, but then still make sure you're there for your people when they need it?
Well,
so how do you set
the
that
thing
up?
about it is that we can do this business from anywhere now. It's a lot different than it was when we were out in the field. When I was out in the field, I literally would go to the states where my agents were. I would get in the car with them and I would help them close deals and things of that nature. But now that we are all virtual and we're on Zoom, then I can take, as long as I have my phone and my computer, Justin, I can go anywhere and help support my team. So, you know, that's the beauty about this business as well. You can do it literally from anywhere. So I make sure that I have my coaches in position to help me if in the event I can't answer a call or whatever. But for the most part, I'm there for my agents. And I think that that's something that is different too. I hear so many agents that are out there and many companies just throw them against the wall and say, okay, here's a book. Go study, learn it, but we are really hands-on. So one of our sayings, one of our mottos is that we don't micromanage, but we will micro-train the heck out of you. So we're going to make sure that you have the proper tools that you need in order to have success in this business.
Yeah, for sure. And it's almost like that micro stuff comes in until we know someone can handle it on their own. You know, my goal is to not have to like look over someone's shoulder throughout the day. But at first, sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need your hand held through the business because it can be scary. And then it's also good, guys, to like when you get into the business, find someone that you can talk to and because this can be a pretty lonely business, especially if you're at home, you know.
Yeah. What I was going to say was, you know, because you have so many people that are transitioning out of a job, they're so used to somebody being over their shoulder. So when they have that kind of freedom and they say, and one question that I will ask is, you know, what made you get into the insurance business? They would say, well, I want to have the freedom of my schedule and all that. And I'm thinking, you know what? That's probably not a good hire because that's somebody now that they have so much freedom, they don't really know how to do, you know, be as disciplined as somebody looking over their shoulder. So sometimes a person has had a job for a long time, it's very hard for them to get focused. They need somebody on them. So I would say
They
the
do,
great
yeah.
thing about us though is, like I said, we are your coaches, we're not your managers, but there's accountability. So when you have at least an accountability,
Hmm.
you'll be able to pull something out of a person that otherwise, if they're left to their own devices, they probably won't have any success.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why like the first thing that I go over with new agents in training isn't sales. It's, hey, what's your, like, write out a schedule of what an ideal week looks like for you. What type of commitment, what type of schedule can you stick to that you know you can stick to this, and be realistic. Like if you got 4 kids, maybe you can't work from 9 to 9, like be realistic. What can you stick to? And then what do you want to accomplish? Because a lot of it comes down to self accountability. So she hit the nail on the head right there, where it's like, hey, you're transitioning to where someone, and also too, people like if you don't do that and you get your family on that same page as, and you don't get your family on the same page as you or the other people in your life, it's easy for them to be like, oh, well, that's not a real job. You can go like
Yeah, you
help
become
me.
the dog groomer, the dog walker, the person, the Uber driver. You become everything, taking
Yeah.
people to the doctor's appointments because they feel like you don't have a real job. So if you don't take it seriously, your family is not going to take it seriously either. So I tell people that if you want, you have to be the hardest boss to yourself than any other boss. You have to be, because outside of that, if you don't value your time, because you eat what you kill in this business, so you must get out there and
Hmm.
work, because if you don't, you're not gonna get paid. So be disciplined. And the good thing about this business, Justin, as you know, it gets easier over time. So as long as you put your foot on the gas very early on. So for me, when I first started, Justin, I worked 7 days a week because, number one, I told you that I didn't want to end up like my other 2 neighbors losing their properties. So I knew that I had to work as hard as I can to get through my learning curve as fast as I can. However, once I started to do that, what I did in 7 days, I was able to do in 6. What I did in 6 days, I was able to do in 5. And then when I got really, really good, I was able to hit my goal in 4 days, and I'm out. I'm off to the beach. I'm vacationing. I'm doing something. But I got myself through that learning curve pretty quickly. And so I would tell anybody, put your foot on the gas very early on, because you can buy your time back later.
Hmm. Exactly. And what keeps you so motivated? Like because what drove you? Like, why were you so excited to push that hard? Because most people don't. I mean, most people will never be motivated that much. So
Well, I
why were
would
you
say I
that way?
get it from my mom. My mom,
Okay.
well, what I realized when I started to look back at my family's dynamics and the history, on my mom's side, her parents, my grandfather owned a cab and bus driving company, and my grandmother owned a cafe. So they were entrepreneurs. So my mom, even though growing up she had a job, she always had like this side hustle. So we never really wanted for anything, because she always had some business that she was starting, whether it was a daycare or a cleaning service or something. She always had it. So I watched my mom do that as a single mother, and like I said, we never really wanted for anything growing up. So I learned that work ethic early on. My first job, I think, was babysitting. Of course, I think we all kind of had that job at like 9 or 10. But at 14, when I was able to get a job after school, I wanted to make my own money. I didn't want anybody to have to tell me how to spend my money. So I always had that drive. And I will tell you what really pushed me. I've been an entrepreneur now since 2003. So when I got fired for my job, that's what I was saying. That's it. I don't want to put my destiny in anybody else's hands. So if I'm not making the money or I'm not having the success, the only person I can point at is myself. And so I'm not going to let myself down. So I continue to push, because there's things in my life that I continue to want. I want to continue to level up my game. So that's what motivates me.
Okay, that's awesome. That's great. And what was it? What was it scary jumping from because I'm sure you could have applied and got another job somewhere. Like, I'm sure you had a good resume. You're very charismatic. Like I'm sure anybody would love to have you work with them. So what
Yes,
was
it
that
was.
scary?
Yes, it was. I would have to say. So when I was living in LA, and like I said, the job that I had, I was working with some music video directors, and they said that they didn't need my services anymore. They were going to go off and do a movie. So, they let me go. So at that time, my girlfriend was, I had got my real estate license in '01. And so she was like, now that you're not tied to LA, the market in Atlanta is booming. You may want to come out here and start doing it full time. And when I tell you, Justin, my very first year as an entrepreneur in real estate, I doubled my income. So that motivated me right there. I said, oh, okay, so I am worth more. But in order to generate that, I had to get out there and push myself. So literally ever since then, I've made six figures every single year since 2003, well over six figures. And that's what motivates me, because I know that I'm in control of my destiny. Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool. I didn't know that.
So you're
It's
learning
cool
about
learning
me.
the
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, for real. So what were you doing
I was
for
an
music
agent
videos?
to music video directors. So my job was to talk to the managers of the artists. It was to talk to the record labels in the video department and convince them to use my directors to shoot their artists' next videos.
Oh, okay, cool. So then I mean, that was super resourceful to tap into your network then.
Exactly. So, all the Atlanta
That's huge.
rappers back then, my directors were flying out here. I was in Atlanta at least twice a month to shoot music videos. So I worked with a lot of the top artists here. And so it was good. Once I got real estate, I was like, okay,
cool.
well, hey, now you need a home. And I sold to a lot of big producers. And I will tell you that one of my biggest goals, I said, I want to sell to a mega artist. Like, that would be my goal, to sell a house to a mega artist. And I was able to accomplish that too. I said it first. And I was able to usher.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, that's so cool. So you sold man, I remember when I was in high school from like 05 to 08, Usher was
He's
man. I mean,
incredible.
he's still an incredible artist. But that was like when he was like top of the charts, He was like the dude back then. So that's awesome.
I had
That's super
interned at
cool.
LaFace Records, and so I was just an intern prior to him really blowing up when he was starting to the game. And so I was around him, but not in the way, but not knowing that later on that I would end up helping him find properties. So it was a full circle moment. It was
That's
awesome.
cool. That's awesome. That's so cool that you like saw that and you had it come to
did.
fruition, because I mean, most people don't set it. I mean, guys, if you have a goal, it shows you guys that you can set goals and accomplish them and just push towards whatever it is
I'm a
that you
true
want to do.
believer in that, Justin,
Do
because it has happened so much in my life. Like I said, I wanted to have my first
Yeah.
house by the time I was 30, even though I'm 27. But yeah, I wanted to have my first house. I said I wanted to drive a convertible BMW. I said I wanted to work with this particular. So the first video director that I was working with, I was his assistant. So, but I had already said it. I said, I want to move to LA. I want to work with this video director. And my girlfriend actually reminded me. She said, you said you wanted to work with him. I said, oh, I did? Oh, okay. So I believe the power of saying things, because it has happened so much in my life, Justin. It's kind of scary. I got to be careful what I say, but because it has truly happened for me. And
Be careful what you
He'll
wish
give it
for.
to
God
you.
will give it
Yeah,
to you.
So, but go ahead. I'm sorry to say that.
Do you have any brother? No. I appreciate that. I mean, say whatever comes to your mind. Do you have any brothers
I
or
have
sisters?
one sister and one brother. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Now, this is with everything. Obviously, people love their families. I'm sure you love your family and you care about them. But is there a difference between? And you can be honest here, because I know this happens. Is there a difference between a drive factor in entrepreneurship between you and your siblings?
Yes, it is. Yeah. So, my mom,
Okay.
she worked at a hospital in San Francisco she ended up retiring, I think after 35, almost 40 years. Because she's had a relationship with them, she was able to turn my sister on to the hospital, my niece on to the hospital. So they're kind of going along that path. My brother actually he saw what I was doing here at SLS, and at some point in his life, the company that he had dedicated for a long period of time, they had let him go, and he decided to get his insurance license because he thought, okay, I can do it. But he soon found out it really wasn't for him, and that's okay. The thing about it is, this is not for
Yeah,
everybody. But so everybody sees it, and
it's
they
not.
see the glitz and glamour, but they don't understand the real hard work behind it. So, it really wasn't for him, and that's okay too. But yeah, I'm pretty much one of the
Happens.
only entrepreneurs in my family. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and that's like that. I see that, and the reason I ask is because you mentioned how it's crazy. What I try to find is like, man, people come from so many different backgrounds. I have people who say they have great childhoods and their families were extremely hardworking and motivated, and that's the reason why they are. And I've had people say, well, it was maybe I'm not that motivated because I grew up without really
Yeah.
having to need for much, so I don't have the drive because of that. And then there are people who say, well, I had a really tough childhood, so that's why I'm messed up. And there are some people who say, I had a really tough childhood, so
Right.
that's why I pushed so hard. So for me, I always wonder, like, what is it in someone's like spirit that makes them who they are, that gets them to push? So what about you? Do you feel like, do you think there was anything kind of when you were growing up that like maybe you were like, you know what? I think I may be a little bit different than some of the people that are in my life, and I may have a different type of focus on that. And then
Hmm.
I'll follow that up after with your mom, since she had those her things, everything she
Right.
did to support you guys. Was she supportive of you taking the leap, or wanted you to kind of
That's a
take
good
the
question.
safe route? So
Okay.
first,
Go.
yeah. So first, yeah. So first, let's see. At what point in your life were you like, hey, maybe I'm a little bit different than the people that I'm
Right.
growing up
Well, I
around?
mean, for me, I learned that very early on. I didn't really hang with a whole lot of people growing up because I'm the type of person, I don't like to be messy, and it's just like I was like a loner in a sense. So I knew that I grew up around a lot of people that, unfortunately, by the time I graduated from high school, I knew more people that died, that was killed, than my mom knew in her entire life. So I was around a lot of
Crazy.
violence. So for me, what pushed me is like, I don't want to be like some of my friends. I didn't want that to happen to me. So I was part of this organization that's called the Omega Boys Club of San Francisco. They actually started allowing girls to join the organization. Yeah, and so because they
That's
went
awesome.
on a college tour in Atlanta, I never thought that I would leave California. Okay, I will say that. Never thought I would leave it. But because of this organization who kind of broadened my horizons, and we did a college tour in Atlanta and Alabama, it made me want to do something different. So I would have to credit, that organization for allowing me to see the world in a different light, and just pushing me out there to be something different than the folks that were in the community that I grew up in.
Awesome. I love that. So one of the things I was going to ask is like, and that kind of leads to um, something else I was going to ask, like, who's the most influential person or the influential group or influential thing in your life? And like, I think, a lot of us we say our parents because we respect our parents, but I think a lot of us have other forces in our life too that pushed us in a way that, like, I guess a parent can't always push and influence you, because there are people who are going to have that different type of relationship with you. And then when you jumped into entrepreneurship, and your mom, like you said, she had been some of an entrepreneur herself, but then at the hospital, I'm sure she had some sort
She
of
did.
maybe
She
steady
did.
steady income from that. So
Yeah.
so when you're like, Mom, I'm gonna be a realtor,
Okay, so my mom
how
was
did she
very
take that?
supportive, right? Because, like I said, she had that entrepreneur spirit. She knew the drive of her daughter. She knew that I was going to be successful, right? My dad, on the other hand, he comes from the world of, go to college, get a job. My dad he
Mine too.
retired from the post office for like 40 years and retired. Like that was so when he heard that I was going to be an
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneur, he was like, baby girl, don't you want to, maybe do that on the side? And so I was like, no, 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 dad. And I believe in real estate or insurance, it's not a side hustle. Like, you have to give it 100% in order to get out of it. So he wasn't he supported me, of course, but he didn't really believe in it as much as my mom did. So I at least had
Yeah.
somebody that I can talk to that didn't discourage me about, doing it. It's like, okay, babe, I'm here to support you. And so by having that type of support, my dad, it was more like, okay, just wait and see, Dad. You're going to reap the benefits of it. But, he
Hmm.
just wasn't the person that I would go and talk to, if I was having some difficulties. And so that's another thing. You have to be careful who you dump it on, because if a person doesn't understand
Yeah.
entrepreneurship and you start telling them these things, they'll tell you, well, you just need to get a job. That's what they'll tell you. And so, yeah, my dad would have told me that if I told him some of the challenges that I was having. But, again, on my mom, she just continued to believe in me and push me. And so that was my biggest motivation, is my mom.
I love that. That's so cool. And my it's funny because my dad would have, if it was when I put my dad through a lot of crazy stuff when I had substance abuse issues and stuff like that. So he got to the point where after a while, he didn't give up on me, but he's just like, yo, dude, you're going to make decisions and you're going to suffer the consequences, and I'm done. Do whatever you want. I'm going to tell you what I think, but I know you're going to do
Right.
whatever you want anyway. So like if the bad thing happens, don't come complaining to me, but I hope it works out for the best. But because my dad, he's been at the
See,
same company he's been at
that's
for
our
40
parent.
years,
Like,
so it's like
you know what I'm
it's the
saying? So
same
they don't understand
thing.
that, most people
Yeah.
nowadays, you're not at a job for that amount of time. Like, you need to level up. So sometimes you have reached the ceiling at that particular job. There's no more room for growth. So I don't like to be in a box. I don't like.
Most people come to insurance for that. Actually, I was talking to
Mhm.
my buddy Jeremy today. He sold insurance. He has a big lead company now, lead vendor. He had a job. He was a CFO for a big company, and then he quit, and he was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And then he's like, what's the hardest thing I could do? He's like,
Wow.
I'm gonna sell life insurance. So yeah, but fortunately, his wife was like very supportive. She's like, I believe in you. I think you're gonna do it. But it's important to have people in your corner. And then guys too, listen, because I have people that I'm very close to. I purposely don't go to them with questions or ideas that I know, because I just know how they're gonna be. Right? They're gonna be like, oh, like they're gonna try to talk
You
me out of
gotta
it.
watch
And
who you dump on. It's the truth. Yeah.
yeah, I like that. I like, 40 years is impressive for him, because for an agent to
Right.
stay 40 days is impressive. So for someone to work hard for 40 days now is impressive, and
Yeah.
40 years, like, that's huge. Okay, so one thing I want to do here, because we have like
Okay.
10 or 15 minutes left, and if you have to go, you can tell me. But I don't know. I think this is cool. I hope you guys are listening in here, and I hope you understand that like life doesn't like. Jennifer did not wake up one day when she was she didn't wake up when she was 4 years old like, I want to sell insurance. So like sometimes our lives end up in
Yeah.
places for whatever reason, but you got to understand that you're here for a reason, and this industry can help you. So I had some things up, and then the window closed, and then now my computer wants to kind of be a pain. So okay, so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna give people. I want to save this for the end.
Okay.
Okay, I want to save this for the end. I want to give people a
Not
little
too much
sneak
now.
peek into the sales phenom
Okay.
that is Jennifer Walker. So I'm going to run through a couple objections, and I want to see how you would handle them, or how you would coach people to handle them. Okay. So if someone told you that they have to think about it,
So I would say,
how
okay,
would you
well,
handle
Mr.
that?
Justin, I think that's a good idea that you want to think about it, because this is a big decision, and it's something that you have to be married to for the rest of your life. But let me ask you a question. What is it that you're thinking about? Are you thinking about whether or not you love your family enough to put the coverage in place? Or are you thinking about the price that I told you may be a little bit out of your range? What exactly are you thinking about? So at that
Cool.
point, Justin, now they're going to tell me. So because if you pose the question of, are you thinking about whether or not you love your family enough to put the coverage in place? They'll say, well, of course I love my family. So then we know that that's not it. So now you, at that point, you know it's the price. So are you thinking about whether or not it's something that you can afford in your budget every month? Well, I mean, you know, it is kind of expensive. Okay. So now that I know exactly what you're thinking about, please forgive me, Mr. Justin, for me to put something in front of you that you have to think about. My goal is to help you find something that every month you ain't even got to think about it. You know that it's affordable to you, and we're going to go ahead and do just that. So forgive me for that. But now let's look at something that you can afford, that you don't have to think about every month. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Is there anything that you recommend or like to do? And this could apply to when you sold face to face or to when you're in telesales. Now, anything that you like to bring up in the presentation or while you're presenting that could essentially kind of prevent a think about it?
Here's the thing. You can talk to a person until they are blue in the face. If they don't love their family enough, they're not going to do it. So throughout the presentation, I'm trying to uncover who it is that they love enough or who it is that they owe. And these are the two reasons why people buy insurance. It's because they love somebody or they may owe somebody. So once I uncover that, it's really not that hard. Now it's just a matter of finding the right program that they can afford. But once they love their family, I'm actually getting the person's name that they love. Justin, you said your wife is Jody, right? So now, what would Jody do? God forbid, if something happens to you today, what would Jody do? Like, would that be difficult for her?
I love that.
Okay. So then we need to come up with a plan together to try to make sure that Jody does not have to come out of pocket and have to have a GoFundMe account or a car wash or things of that nature. We want to make sure that she's able to bury you with dignity. So let's do that together.
So guys, what she had here, if you listen to her tonal patterns, she went from very sincere to hit the emotion, okay? So to where she hit the emotional side of it, okay? Got kind of very sincere and caring and direct, but from a point of sincerity. And then, so let's do that together. To logical. So she hit the emotional side, and then the logical side of, hey, now I'm going to let the expert take your hand and hold you through this. So as you go through it, if you say that same exact thing that Jennifer just said, but you don't use the right tone and have the right attitude as you're going through it, then you may not get the same result, because it's not, especially on the phone. It's like, how are you saying something as opposed to what you say, right? Exactly. And I use that same question. So I'll be like, hey, so if you went to bed tonight and you didn't wake up tomorrow, what would the beneficiary, what would their day look like? And then kind of walk them through that so that they can kind of, so cool. So awesome. That's cool. And then how do you prevent and then handle talk to my spouse? Because sometimes you can get people that it is. I've asked people 10 times in the presentation if they have to talk to someone, they say no, and then at the end they pull it. So how do you prevent, and then how do you handle it?
And at the beginning of the presentation, you're trying to find out, well, Mr. Justin, now, do you make the decisions by yourself, or do you need decisions, both you and your wife? Who's the boss of the house? So when you say that, oh, I'm the boss. Now they want to, puff up their chest and say, no, I make my own decisions. So now that you say that you've made your own decisions, I really don't want to hear about you need to talk to your spouse at the end, because I'm trying to deal with that objection at the beginning, right? So, but now, even if they say they need to talk to their spouse, and I'll say, you know what, I get that. I understand a lot of decisions, need to be made with both husband and wife. So I understand that. But let me ask you a question, Mr. Justin. What did your wife say the last time y'all talked about it? See, because this won't be the first discussion. If they 50, 60, 70, Justin, they've already talked about insurance before. So it's no new conversation. So I want to find out, what did you guys talk about the last time? Well, she said, I know I need to get some insurance. Okay. Well, then it sounds like you guys have already talked about it. So now the only question is, which plan you're going to put in place? So let's do this. Let's try to find a plan together that we know that is going to make sure that Jody is not in a position that she has to figure out how to bury you. So you guys already talked about it. Now it's just a matter of how much coverage. And now, did you want to have a traditional burial, or are you open to cremation? See, so now I'm flying over that objection. That's not really an objection to me. I just want to find out what you want. And then at that point, once you tell me, well, I want a burial. Okay. All right. Well, then this is what I need to do. I need to make sure that this check is going to be made out to Jody, especially since you want a burial. Now, is that Jody or Jodi? See, I'm walking down the application until they stop. So it's not a real objection to me in my mind. I can't tell you how many times I've had somebody to tell me that. And as I continue to walk through in a logical path with them, that the spouse wasn't even an issue. So then when I would also come back and tell them, okay, so once we get this plan, I do want to include Miss Jody into the conversation. Matter of fact, let's schedule a time once you get the policy. Let's schedule a time for us to talk together and make sure that it is the amount of coverage that she would need in the event of your demise.
I love that, and I've said that to people too, and like where so that's cool. So I'm learning some things here. This is great, and I've said I've had guys and men and women. I've been like, you mean to tell me you've never spoke to your husband about this before? Or if it's a guy, I'd be like, listen, man, if I went to my wife asking if I can get in money to cover this, she'd be pissed. I'm like, and if your wife's anything like mine, she wants you to take care of her, dude. So, so kind of simple. Now, what about talk to the kids though, right? So talk to the kid. My kids pay my bills, or my kids handle that. So how do you try to flush that out? Or how do you handle that? Because I found for me, like sometimes I have mixed. I've had many times where I've sold someone and they got to talk to their kids, and then the kids like totally just blow it up, especially if they live with them.
Well,
and it's like, oh god.
If it's a real objection, then they're gonna put you in touch with that child. So I want to get the telephone number of that child if that is for real, because if it is, you guys, you can't get over that. If their child is in control of their checkbook, if their child is the one that truly helped them make decisions, there's no real way of getting through that objection. You just need to include that child into the conversation. And I can't tell you how many times that I've done that, and that has been a legitimate reason. And we were able to bring that child in. Now, when I'm bringing the child into the conversation, I know what you're talking about, Justin. It can blow up, but also too, when I'm letting them know, hey, this is Jennifer Walker. I work with SLS. I'm actually been on the phone with your mom, and she thought enough about you to make sure that she did not want to leave her burial on you. And she also wanted to leave a little legacy money behind. The only thing is, she did not know which plan was going to be the best fit. So she wanted to make sure that you were taken care of. So when you start talking to the child like that, then you think they're going to say, no, mom, leave me with the financial burden. No.
Yeah.
So bring them in, welcome them, tell them the mom was really trying to make sure that they were okay. And, and you get them on your side. So I've had them, even upsell because they want more. See, I've had that too. So it's not necessarily a negative thing when the child needs to be included.
Oh, for sure. I'm saying, I agree. I try to get him on the line. I'm saying sometimes if you have him do it and then the kid isn't there, then I've had the cancellation thing, and because I'll be like, I don't believe you, and then but still, you guys always want to go for the close, regardless of whether or not I would always go for it.
I'm treating it the same way as a spouse. So it's not a real objection until you hold up, no. So. Thing, hey, your children, this is a decision that some decisions like this, your child doesn't want to have to make for you. This is not a conversation that I ever wanted to have with my mom and dad. They kind of forced me to have that conversation, but I'm glad that we did, because I was more prepared when it happened. But this is not the conversation that I'm sure your children don't want to have that conversation with them. So it's one of those things that you want to go ahead and take care of it and tell them about it versus asking them.
Yeah, it's usually a stall whenever I hear it. It's like they're just trying to put it off because they're trying to think about it, guys. They're putting responsibility on someone else because they don't want to make a decision, or they think that for whatever reason. And it's so funny because I've gotten that third party on the line so many times, and they're like, "Why are you calling me?" And it's so funny when they do that. I remember we had a new agent a few weeks ago. It was like, oh, the guy's going to talk to his sister.
Right.
Da, 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 da. She handles all his stuff. So I was like, let me call him. So I called him. I'm like, what's your sister's number? What's the best number to reach her at? So we called her.
Yeah,
And she's
exactly.
like, why are you asking me? It's your money. He's like, well, I want to know how much I should get. She's like, 20,000. I'll
Yeah,
put you away. And it was an upsell, too. Because he was like, I might go with the 10. She's like, get
Yeah.
at least 20. And he's like, all right, I'll do
Exactly,
20. So
exactly.
it worked
it's
out
just
well.
a stall tactic. Unfortunately, many of our clients are chronic procrastinators. So that is why they throw those things
Yeah.
out there. And if you don't know how to roll over those objections, then you'll stumble every time. So you got to learn how to push through, but you got to have a good mentor to teach you. So that's it, Justin. That's it. They just getting a little taste.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it.
If they
Little
want to
taste.
learn
That's
more,
it.
they need to join our team.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Exactly. So cool, guys. Awesome. So you learned it there. Now I appreciate it. We appreciate your time today, Jennifer. If anybody wants to reach out to Jennifer, just reach out to me or check out the information in the description of the video. And if you look up right here, oh, by the way, please like the video. More than that, subscribe to my channel, turn on post notifications. We literally bring the absolute best content in the industry for final expense telesales. So subscribe to my channel, turn on post notifications, and if you look up right here, you're going to see another video of an agent that works here at SLS, another success story whose drive was otherworldly and has pushed their way to success here. So we appreciate your time today, everybody, and thank you and have a good day.